Okay, so all these famous musician and/or band biopics kind of have to rely on the equation of thing happens, familiar song plays, audience associates their feelings towards song with how they should feel about the thing happening, because, why else are you making the movie but to have people go, ah, he did indeed walk the line. Oh, that's why Georgia was on his mind, or, that did indeed rock me, and they were, in fact, in that moment, the champions of the world. And I understand that it's unfair to call this a fault of the movie, since you work with what you have, and Queen didn't really record a ton of sad songs that people remember, but it does feel kind of off to get to what's supposed to be the really sad part of the story here, but the soundtrack mostly has you thinking, heh, that's from Highlander. Hoo boy! So, Bohemian Rhapsody is one of the most nakedly cynical creations I can remember seeing play out on screen, technically meeting the qualifications of a narrative feature film that wasn't just openly marketing a line of toys, smartphone apps, or a religion. And even then, I can name plenty of movies about action figures and superheroes with more integrity and self-respect, including a couple that were also supposedly directed by Bryan Singer officially, maybe parts of them at least on paper. It's a film driven by and frequently yanked back and forth between two distinct tracks united only by their complementary coldness of respective calculations, specifically a drive to cement the studio, media, casting industry agreed upon next big thing-hood of Mr. Robot Wunderkind Rami Malek via the kind of visibly exhausting make sure to show your work, meticulously detailed imitation of a famous dead person's mannerisms performance that's been known to induce psychosomatic priapic erections in Academy Awards voters, and the equally strong drive of the surviving members of Queen and, whatever other individuals or entities have a financial stake in the band's substantial album catalog at this point to have those songs fly back up the charts one more time and make an impending retirement comfortable enough that nobody has to host a reality show in a couple of years. With both thoroughly mechanical lunges for both figurative and literal gold, dressed up for release mainly as a laudatory biography of deceased frontman Freddie Mercury's creative spirit, tumultuous and troubled life, and tragic early death that plays everything so safe and rearranges history in the name of dramatic license to such a cartoonishly brazen degree that you've probably seen more naturalistic authenticity from actual gilded lilies. And that's not even taking into account that the finished product we wound up with is actually a stitched-together post-production Frankenstein of sequences filmed under original director Bryan Singer and uncredited director Dexter Fletcher, who took over the production once Singer was removed for reasons. All of which is in fact worth bringing up because it's extremely apparent that a bunch of things both went wrong and were never going right in the first place in the watching of the film, which makes the fact that we know much of those things were both relevant and significantly more interesting than anything that actually happens in Bohemian Rhapsody, apart from the blowout reenactment of Queen's now legendary performance at Live Aid that serves as the film's climax and is indeed, as you've no doubt heard by now, a legitimately magnificent piece of standalone filmmaking, showcasing the best visualization of musicianship, use of iconic music, and full unbound force of Malek's impressively committed performance in the entire film. In fact, it really does feel like an entirely different movie unto itself and makes for a hell of an ending. Unfortunately, to get there, you've got to go through the rest of the film, which is otherwise a plodding, dreary, uninspired trudge through the rock and roll icon bio Mad Lib screenplay format that it's kind of hard to believe filmmakers are still unironically going to a decade after Walk Hard, the disapproving conservative parents, chance encounter with fame, long-suffering partner who stokes the creative fire but also gets burned by it, songwriting montages, angst over self-denial, descent into drugs and debauchery, edifying comeback. You've seen one of these, you've seen 12 of these, and this is another one. Look, no one's going to deny that Rami Malek is throwing 200% effort at inhabiting a dead-on recreation of a very unique and difficult to pin down persona, but the screenplay just isn't giving him a character to play. Freddie Mercury didn't lead a boring or formulaic rock star life, but Bohemian Rhapsody is determined to tell his story focusing mainly on the parts that would fit comfortably into one, and while early rumors that the film would attempt to somehow gloss over subjects of sexuality or his death from AIDS turn out to be somewhat overstated, the approach is still palpably, well, cowardice would be generous. It's a chicken shit approach to everything, every moment feeling hamstrung between fears of alienating a mainstream audience and the inability to figure out how it can depict Mercury's personal journey and identity struggles and concurrent flaws, demons, and tragic ending without seeming inappropriately judgmental by correlation. There's also an off-putting undercurrent of score settling to the revisionism, with the surviving members of Queen, all of whom had veto power over the use of music in the film and story in general, alternately depicted as an audience POV, regular blokes caught up in Mercury's whirlwind, marveling at his superhuman talent, bewildered by his exotic flamboyancy, but also as a Greek chorus of paternal surrogate wingmen exasperated with the antics of a flighty, immature man-child. One can sympathize with wanting to correct the record vis-a-vis rock history, having to this point treated the rest of Queen as, you know, just the rest of Queen. But the tonal whiplash of doing it in the tacky greatest hits infomercial that you're dressing up as one specific guy's bio is pretty intense. A constant back and forth between Freddie Mercury was a brilliant visionary firebrand taken too soon, whom even we, his closest friends and family, may only have ever partly comprehended, and but hey, he could also be a pain in the ass diva, and really he was nothing without us, right? And that's not even touching on stupid shit like Mike Myers turning up in a cheesy cameo as a fictional EMI record executive who turns down Bohemian Rhapsody because it's just not a song that young people are ever gonna put on in the car and bang their heads to, right? Ha, ha, ha. Look, it's hardly a disaster, but the whole production is just sorely lacking and dreary. A lead performance with this energy deserved a real character to inhabit. A moment in time this vibrant deserved a braver vision. Music this good shouldn't have had to play over scenes this dull, and a life this big shouldn't have been made to feel so small. 1.5 stars, the show must not necessarily go on.